What's up, guys? It's Talon. Today we're going to be coaching a Syndra and Ekko player, and a lot of the things we're talking about is kind of understanding where to be on the map and when. He actually does a pretty good job of following a lot of the things I've talked about in a lot of my videos and getting good gold and stuff like that. But we just kind of talk about a lot of ways to optimize that and kind of maybe some mistakes that you guys might be making when it comes to those types of things. Playing fights as well into like tankier comps, that type of thing. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely stay around to watch the video. If you're interested in coaching from a rank 5 sovereign autofill player like myself, just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to my Discord server. It's just $25 an hour for coaching, and let's get right into the video.
So
Also,
normally when
yep.
don't mind me asking, normally when your coaching sessions, those who share their games with you, what type of games do they show you? Like the type where they get stomped or like the close ones or
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the most valuable thing is types of games that you feel like show the way you lose a lot. So, like, if you lose a lot where you have a lead and then you throw, at like 15 minutes, then it'd be good to show a game like that where that happened. If you feel like
Okay.
you struggle into certain matchups, you could show a game against that type of matchup. So, I mean, really anything is fine, but yeah, typically just whatever you feel like is like your typical issue or the time that you lose a game that shows that.
Okay. Um okay, just in case like we keep interrupting each other, I'll probably let you do the talking first before I ask or say anything.
Yeah, I mean, you can interrupt me if you have questions, though. Like, that's kind of the whole point, right? Is to give you as much
Yeah.
information as you want. So you can interrupt me and ask questions anytime. Like, that's totally fine.
Okay, can. So I mean there are two games recently that I lost. I mean, apart from up to last week, I started playing rank more because I finished my finals, so I got more free time to play and all.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just reached masters, which wasn't a problem, but I'm peak master, so I know that I can reach higher than this, but it's a matter of because I started playing like this year.
Yeah,
So
so pretty recent.
micro wise, I'm not that good yet, but macro wise, I can say that I understand rotation and all that stuff pretty decently. Not as good as you, obviously, but um, okay, probably we can start with the Syndra game where I think it was hard for me to kind of make an impact because my team they weren't playing well at all, honestly. But
Yeah,
I feel
gotcha.
that yeah, you know what? It's 20 minutes, so let's
Yeah,
just
yeah, we'll
go.
go in and yeah, I'll like talk about a lot of the smaller details like during the game, and then we'll write out like the bigger picture things at the end, so that you have like
Okay.
specific things to work on. But I mean,
Yeah.
Heimerdinger matchup typically is a little harder, so it's kind of just something where you're probably not that active early on.
Yeah.
But also,
So
put
what?
the fog of war to blue, by the way, to the blue like thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I assume we're just gonna follow my camera, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll just see, what we see in the game. Um,
Okay.
go from there. Obviously, a lot of times. So like, this is the first thing. Don't do that word level 1. The reason you don't want to do that word level 1 is because your champion's weaker level 1 than Heimerdinger. So if he found you
Okay.
there, like if he was there, then you would take a lot of damage and you would lose, like the trade. So you only really want to do that if you know that you win the level 1 against someone. And then
Mm.
into a champion like Heimerdinger, it's a bit more important to like auto attack a lot less than this and mostly just focus on getting your abilities traded and be in a bit more of like a safe position. Like you were pushed up
Mm.
quite aggressive there, which meant that if he walked up to punish you, he'd be able to start freezing on you pretty easily and kind of punish you.
Yeah.
Heimerdinger is not going to be the best at freezing because his turrets will push naturally, but in most matchups they're kind of going to be able to freeze on you, and in this matchup, like you're going to get pushed in no matter what, so when you walk up that aggressive, usually he can just trade a lot more with you. You'd kind of rather focus more on poking him a bit, and then just clearing the wave as it comes closer to your turret. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. So I assume that's for like sort of the more difficult matchups where it's harder
Yeah,
for me to
like
trade, I assume.
Yasuo, Heimerdinger, that type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like these types
Okay.
of matchups, just where they're a lot stronger than you at like level 1, you want to hit the wave enough to the point that it's not going to hard push into you, but what you were doing was like walking up and hitting like the ranged minion to the point that it could have started pushing into him if he just like started focusing on trading with you harder, because he could have just walked
Alright.
up and traded with you and kept trading, and then it would have been pretty bad.
Mhm.
And then at this point you should just be clearing the wave and pushing the wave. So if you want to pause here real quick, just for a second.
Okay.
So when you're in a position where you're in a relatively difficult and you can go to the wave, by the way, just so we can look at the wave.
Okay. Yeah.
So in a situation like this, we can see like your minions are higher health than his, you have more minions, so they're going to push into him, right? And when you're in a situation in a somewhat hard matchup like Heimerdinger, again, if it was a Yasuo, if it was any good early game champ that was hard for you to chase, you don't want the wave to be spending a lot of time on their side of the map. So you don't want a lot of time where your minions are pushing into him, but not under the turret. So anytime you see the wave like this, it's extremely important to get the wave under the turret really quickly if the enemy are ever out of lane. So when you saw Heimerdinger going out of lane like that, all you had to do was spend about 3 or 4 seconds using your abilities on this wave and getting it to go under the turret. And then you can see how far he's getting pushed back. He wouldn't be able to get this wave, and so he would lose probably at least 3 of these minions, which would be a bunch of gold, right? So you would deny him a bunch of gold, and then you'd still be able to go and rotate and help your teammate afterwards. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, most of the time, I wouldn't say it happens all the time, but there are moments where your jungle or like your teammates they kind of love to fight early game so much because normally how I because before this I played jungle the previous season, so I appreciate like a mid who would be able to how do I
Rotate.
say this, like rotate in time, rotate in time with me when I wanna make plays or something. So how I usually do it would be for me to like you said when the Hammerniger went off was to clear the wave, but I saw that he was low, so I thought that in that situation the right move would be to follow up and help him, which you would see in a minute or so wasn't the right idea because I could have made him lose more XP and gold.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like
But
it depends on the champion you're playing, because you're playing a champion like Syndra. So that's the first thing. Like Syndra is very much a selfish champion who's focused on her own gold, and so you're going to prioritize that. You're not a champion who's great at rotating early, so that's the first thing. Whereas Ekko, for example, might be a bit better at rotating early. But the second thing is, it would have only taken you about 3 to 5 seconds to clear this wave, and then you could have still gone and helped your teammates. So it's not like you couldn't help your teammate at all. You're just taking a little bit longer in order to make sure that you can deny the enemy gold and get the guaranteed gold from the wave, and then you can still rotate and help. It's just going to be slightly later, so maybe there's a chance your jungler dies. But we've already seen, and if you've played jungle, I'm sure you kind of know, like, your jungler ganked at level 2, and then he's continuing to chase. He's not farming. He's clearly very bad. We don't really want to play super hard around a super bad player like this early on, who's making a lot of those silly mistakes. So that's kind of the main thing.
all right.
Yeah, we can go again.
By the way, can I ask you one more? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go
like
ahead.
because these days when I play mid, it kind of takes like yesterday it took me like 10 minutes to queue. So like there are moments where like I just switch roles and play jungle. But
Yeah.
how do I mean you play jungle a lot, so in terms of efficiency, normally the ideal play would be to do like almost a full clear before you go for scuttle,
As
right?
the Lee Sin here,
And
or
then
just in general as jungle?
in general, I mean my most played jungles are, I mean, the ones that I'm very comfortable with playing right now would be Wukong and Kayn. There are cases where I play Amumu because the team would, insist I do that, and
Yeah.
it's very easy to play him, honestly, So with Amumu, I can kind of get away with being a bit more over aggressive because of how his what do you call it, like his skills work, and he's just a tank in general.
Yeah, okay, so
But
you're gonna want to, there's basically 2 things that you'll do as a jungler. You're either going to do 5 camps, and then you're gonna go to scuttle. You're gonna do this if you think that the enemy jungle is going to the same side as you, and you think you can contest them, or sneak the scuttle because they might do 6 camps. Or you're just gonna do 6 camps, and then you go scuttle. And if scuttle's already taken, you just recall, you spend your gold, and you go to the other side scuttle. And you're always gonna, like, you're pretty much always gonna get at least 1 scuttle out of that, plus 6 camps, which means you hit level 5. You're pretty much always gonna want to do one of those 2 things. Usually just 6 camps into then scuttle. Like, the reasoning for this is because 1, it gives you your ultimate, which makes you way more likely to actually like have a successful gank. And then 2, farming those camps right away means they're gonna respawn quicker for the second clear. So you're just typically gonna be full clearing, even on a Mumu, because a Mumu actually has like one of the fastest clear speeds in the game. So doing all 6 camps and then going to scuttle, that's usually actually going to work out really well. So even on a Mumu, you don't want to force a lot of early ganks. You want to hit level 5, because he's an amazing level 5 jungler. Same with like
Yeah.
champions like Wukong, those types of champs. So you're really focused on getting that level 5, and then you look for the ganks after for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, we can go. Yeah. So yeah, here you can kind of see what ends up happening is like you're ending up going super deep because your teammate for some reason is going super deep. You saw how he actually killed the Heimerdinger without you even doing anything. Like you didn't touch the Heimer and he killed him. So you could have been doing the exact same thing in mid lane that I was talking about, and the result would have been the same. Like you really haven't done anything yet. You've maybe got a first ability or two off, maybe a second ability, but you're kind of just sitting here, you're wasting a bunch of time, and you're losing out on all of those minions in mid lane, so you're not really getting any advantage. And then at this point now, Heimerdinger literally respawns, and so you can kind of just see, like, your champion just sucks at fighting early. Like, that's just how simple it is. Your champion's main goal is first 2 waves, you want to poke really hard. So again, you do what I was saying, where anytime the enemy walks up, you poke them. You don't need to focus super hard on hitting the wave. If you're in a winning matchup, you can hit the wave slightly harder, right? And if you're in a losing matchup, you let them push into you, but you just poke them. And then if you're in, or once the 3rd wave comes around, then you're trying to now start to create an opportunity to push the wave under the turret so you can recall and get your mana boots. Because that's the main thing you're looking for, is to recall for mana boots. So that's kind of the main thing to keep in mind. And
Okay.
yeah, your 3rd ability usage as well, you kind of, I mean, you miss 3rd ability, obviously, like, you're gonna miss spells sometimes, but it's pretty easy to auto aim a spell and then just walk up in range of someone and 3rd ability them early game. It's pretty much gonna guarantee like landing that, so that's just something to keep in mind as well. But
Yeah, I mean, I started. I didn't really play much of Syndra, but I mean, I recently play her a lot.
yeah,
But the most I play with her is about what, 20 plus 30 games. So I realized hitting the third is how do I say this? You gotta kind of. I realized that I have to walk literally behind the ball for it to hit them directly.
most of the time, yeah, unless they're in like, you know, it's like that, for example, what you got there, like, it's a fine thing to do. But even those types of 3rd abilities, a lot of times I don't go for them early in lane. I go for more just the guaranteed ones. Otherwise, I kind of run out of mana pretty quickly as well. But like here, okay, so also, yeah, pause here real quick. So what we kind of need to understand, like, I didn't mind using one first ability and poking him a little bit there, but we need to understand, like, when the wave is fully under our turret, we're kind of prioritizing also like clearing that wave a bit. So there was like a time where using ability, you probably should just focus on last hitting first and then gone for the poke after. Not a super big deal, but just something to point out as well. But I mean, that's really all, so you can keep going unless you have questions. But
Okay.
and here again, like, this matchup, you just sit under a turret because Heimerdinger is just, you know, he's just one of those champions that's just gonna push you under your turret. So okay, and then this is the same situation I spoke about, you know, the first situation. You should be on the mid wave pushing it. Because if you push the mid wave and then you rotate it afterwards, like, now you would be having a huge advantage. But instead, you kind of wait a while, and now this wave potentially still all dies under his turret, right? But you have less time to get a plate, so now I'm not even sure if you'll end up getting a plate out of it. So we just have to be quicker with like that type of thing. And you still end up getting a plate, so it's not the end of the world. But just understanding, like, our champion's main goal in the lane is just get an early lead. If the enemy rotate a bunch, we're going to take advantage of that by getting our own gold and just like having that be your first priority. Also, you should have grabbed the fruit here because it gives you gold because you have Sweet Tooth, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that, but not a huge thing.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
You know, so for my secondary rune, I usually use Gathering Storm, but I feel that if there are more 10k matchups, I would switch it to Giant Slayer. That's fine, right?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Oh, okay.
Because I think, is this the game you went Leandri's 5th item? Because they had a lot of, which is fine.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I did.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think I got it too late because my backline couldn't do anything, so I.
No, honestly, 5th item's fine. I mean, getting it earlier, you can't really get it first 3 items, because they're not even gonna have their like health items stacked up. So it's fine 5th. Like, and you kind of want crown if you're already fed. So, but I like this situation here where like you end up rotating after getting the wave pushed, and like you're in a good spot. You're just getting poke. Like, that's all you can really do here. And then you kind of just realize, like, you know, you're probably gonna lose this, but you can just try to get some poke off. I mean, everything here is really fine. Even if she does, yeah, she doesn't even kill you. That's good. And then, yeah, we just push the wave out again. Everything here is fine. Again, the main thing so far, the ward level 1, again, I don't want you doing that into matchups that are stronger than you. I don't want you pushing so hard at level 1 into, again, hard matchups. Understanding, again, that if the enemy rotate and over-rotate, we need to punish that by pushing the wave right away, rather than, again, like with you, you're kind of trying to cover and match those rotations too much because you're kind of thinking from the perspective of jungle. Like this, I like this. You take one plate and then you can go and rotate to the fight afterwards. Like you still can fight, but you're also just squeezing out that additional gold. So it's like, that's really what I want you thinking about more often, is just really, really selfish gameplay. Because again, sometimes people will be like, oh, well, this is so selfish. Like your teammates are going to play worse. You're going to, like, you know, whatever. But if you want to play a less selfish style, then play a different champion. You know, play like Ekko, play someone who can rotate more often. But if we're going to play this type of champ, it is really important that you're prioritizing that gold as much as possible, and then you're still finding rotation in the fight. So like a lot of the things you're doing here are really good, and you know, just with time getting better at the champion, because a lot of what comes down to then is like how you play the fights, which is more, you know, you get better at that the more you play the champion. But here again, I like you prioritize the wave really quick. Also, do you know the wave clear combo or no?
Normally I do either QEW and Q, or EW, Q, and Q again.
Because you haven't really used your E for wave clear yet, and it's meant that you're going to clear these waves a lot slower. So if you, and it also, an easier way to do it is just third ability first, and then first ability, second ability, because it's just like, it's easier to not mess up. You can do first ability, then third ability, but you have to do it really quick so that the minions get all grouped together, you know what I mean? So...
Yeah, but normally when I wave clear with Syndra, if in the situation like you see how I clear the waves, I save my third ability because I know how long the cooldown is, and in case the Vi were to come over, I would be punished because I don't have flash yet at that point.
Yeah, but you had cleanse, and again, it would literally take you like 1 second to do that. Like that wave clear combo is basically instant, which gives you way more time to roam and be with your team. So even in that situation, I'd rather you do that. And then here, again, I don't want you being the first to rotate. I want you on that mid wave, get that mid wave pushed, and then rotate afterwards. So like, again, you could have just gone on this wave and then rotated right after, but you see how much you've already lost a minion there. You're kind of just sitting here. You haven't really gotten value. Like you can see how a lot of your roams don't really actually do anything. Whereas if you roam after pushing a wave, what this also does is it ends up making the enemy have to choose between going mid or matching your roam. Whereas when you end up doing what you did here, now you get stuck under your turret. Like you see, you don't have to be stuck under your turret here if you did how I did how I said, because then the wave would have pushed into him first and he'd be stuck under his turret. But instead, you are under your turret, you have no ability to roam, and now the enemy get complete control over the you know, the what you call it, the bush, right? So does that make sense? Like why I want you doing that, or?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, cool. I just asked, does it make sense a lot? Because, you know, just want to make sure, because I talk fast sometimes and don't always know. So then as well, at this point, at this point, when our duo lane kind of comes mid lane and starts doing these types of things, a lot of times you can just go to the side lane. So like you can just go top here. You don't need to go group with your team anymore. Again,
there's a problem in this game, I realized. I mean, I played this, I think, about an hour or like half an hour ago. They like to go in mid, and I felt that with me or without me, their wave clear wouldn't be as good. That's why I came over. Like you said, I did recognize the opportunity in the side wave, not just to push but also to get extra goal for myself. But I don't know, in that situation I just felt that it is the best move for me, because I saw how low they were.
Yeah, I don't even mind you going mid here initially, but you need to have the goal of like wave clear the wave really quick, and then go top side. Whereas like what you're doing is you're spending a bunch of time fighting here. And again, we're a relatively early game Syndra. We're not that strong yet. We don't do much, and our team is down in gold anyways. So like we're probably gonna lose the fight. And so obviously like your team isn't good here, right? And we can acknowledge that your team is like, you know, a much bigger problem than what you're doing. But obviously we're focused on what you can do. And like, and if we look at this, you're essentially just saying, yes, I'm just going to go fight with my team. I'm going to get a bunch of poke off. It's not going to be bad for you, but we kind of know our team's going to lose the fight, and we're encouraging the fight when we could be going to a side lane, farming that side lane. And then what it does, again, is it draws someone to you, which means then when you see people rotating to you, you back off, and now your teammates in mid get control of mid. So it's kind of the same thing as before, where I said if you'd gone on that mid wave earlier right away, Heimerdinger wouldn't push you under your turret because you'd be on the wave first, and then he has to clear under his turret. It's the same thing here, where if you're topside right away, it means someone on the enemy has to take their resources away from mid lane to you, which then alleviates pressure on your team. But instead, you allow all 5 of the enemy to group mid and not get punished for their stupid, you know, decision to all group, because it's almost never the correct play to group mid unless there's an objective up, right, and you're trying to get control before the objective. So like what you're doing here, this is exactly what I want you doing, because now even if the enemy win the fight in mid lane, they're not getting a big gold lead because of the fact that they're losing out on all that bot lane turret gold and everything. So then here again, you can go through mid, but your main goal when you go mid here, and you see how Vi gets drawn there, right? And so Vi being drawn there means that now you can win this fight a lot easier, you know, potentially, and then you're able to get a kill here. And so it's more about just that constant rotation where you go to one part of the map, you get the gold there, then you leave, right? And you see again, if Vi is here, like this is infinitely harder, right? But instead Vi had to be bot lane. And so that's what I want you doing. And then here I want you to go top side, get that wave pushed out, and then recall and be ready for the Baron. Because we need to understand Baron's coming in about 20 seconds. If you get that top lane pushed out initially, again, the enemy will have to be drawn towards top side while Baron's coming. And then you get initial control over Baron, because if you did it about 30 seconds or 20 seconds ago, there'd be no worry of the enemy getting Baron. But now you can't do it anymore because now the enemy could get the Baron, right? So
it's like you said, because other than jungle and mid, I think Baron is my top 3 choices in the, like, you know, the selection thing where we can choose our roles and all, you know. So normally how I would, the reason I went down to bot, like you saw, was one is obviously to get free goal, because I realized in the previous team fight, no matter how much I put, it just wasn't enough. And at that point, my team was they were already pinging me and all, you know. So I realized, okay, I don't have enough damage yet, so, you know, let's get goal and let's try to get someone to tend to what I did. Because normally the rational way to think about it would be, if I were to clear the wave, someone would have to respond to that, you know. So and in that situation, Vi did it. So let's say if I were to play Baron, I would go to the opposite side of Baron in, like, I think 45 seconds before, and then try to get pressure off my team. If I can draw 1 or 2 people, then it means that they have a normal advantage at the other side. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I was kind of, how do I say this? I was thinking a lot of whether I should do this or do that, you know. Like I wasn't decisive in my thought process and my actions at this point in time, because because as you can see, my team, they keep staying at mid, so there was no one to cover the side lane, so I had to do it as much as I wanted to help them.
And in this situation, like, going top isn't like if you went top 30 seconds ago, that's not like the most important thing ever. Like, that's like a smaller thing where it's like, we get that wave pushing, we might draw someone there, it's nice. But it's not a huge thing because it's not like your turret's getting pressured. So that's not a huge deal. But it's still like would have been slightly better. But overall, I like where your like head's at when in a lot of these situations. Like, you're still covering the side lane, you're getting gold, and you're by far obviously the best performing player in your team. Like, your team is really bad in this game, and this was going to be a really hard game to win regardless, which is just sometimes how games turn out. So like, again, the main things for you is the decisiveness. Like you said, you're kind of like thinking between 2 options. And when you have like this thought where you're like, I don't know which to do, what I want you doing is I want you to hard commit to whatever you think is the right one, just like naturally. I want you to do it and then do it really quick. And if it doesn't work out, then you just learn from it. Like, now you're like, okay, it didn't work out. Why did it not work out? Did it not work out because my team did something wrong, or was it the wrong choice? And you kind of just like evaluate that. And that's how you actually go about improving. But if you never commit to your decision, then it's going to be really hard to ever like naturally make the correct decision, because you're going to be sitting 24/7 kind of thinking about it. And then just the general rule is like, you can go through mid initially, get mid pushed out, and then rotate to a side lane after. But if your team's already covering mid lane, most of the time it's going to be better to go to the same side of wherever the objective's going to spawn. So like, you're here, like you're in the correct spot right now, for example. Your teammates are mid, you're exactly where you should be. And most of the time you kind of know where you should be. So that's overall been good. Also, random aside, you should definitely have anti-shield this game, by the way, because they have shielding on Vi and Volibear, and then I'm pretty sure they're going to build Gargoyle. I don't know if you can look at their items right now, but they don't have Gargoyle yet, so that's something you should pay attention to, is like, if they have Gargoyle, you need anti-shield. But yeah, that's all. So. And then you should be really close to 120 stacks as well. Like, you've stacked really well this game, and like I said, like, your farm is pretty good. Like, everything is pretty fine here. It's just, again, those main things of like the efficiency with like, we get the wave before we rotate, and then we make sure we're getting that side lane pushed out in those certain situations instead of just grouping mid with our team in random fights. But yeah, apart from that, I think most of these things are good. And so here again, this is a situation where I want you to really fast push bot, and then you go mid right after. So like here, you should do the wave clear combo, which you do perfect. And then yeah, you should go mid with your team. So this is what we need to understand as well as Syndra. And I don't hate this decision by you, don't get me wrong, but if we look at like, so if you want to pause here, actually, I just want to, so I can explain a little bit more. So if you were doing this 1.5 minutes ago, you would be doing the correct thing, because there would be no Baron up, there would be no objective, there would be nothing that really matters, right? But when there is an objective up, especially once Baron's spawning, our decision or our like thought process will switch from I want to get as much gold as possible, I want to get as strong as possible, to now I need to still farm as much as I can, but I need to care a lot more about my team's random fights. Like your team's random fights in mid lane are important when there's a really big objective like a Baron. So it's kind of basically like the things that you were doing for the first couple of minutes where, you know, you were grouping with your team, you were fighting constantly, whatever. You actually want to do that like now. Like this is the time you do it. So you still push out this bot lane wave, but as soon as you pushed out bot lane wave, you would immediately walk mid with your team. Because again, not only would you drop pressure bot lane where someone might have to go respond, but then you're also there so that your team don't randomly die and you lose Baron. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's all. And yeah, this is kind of where like now we're probably going to lose Baron. And this is where the game kind of becomes impossible. So it's really just about switching kind of that thing. Because also, if you're farming really well early game, at this point, you're going to be nearly at death cap, if not just at death cap, which is obviously a lot better. And then here, you shouldn't go topside because Baron's up. So you can't really be doing this now. So again, it's the same thing we spoke about earlier. That's why I wanted you to prepare that wave around, you know, 11:30, 11:20, because then you don't have to go there and risk the enemy sneaking a Baron or something. Again, they didn't sneak it in this case. We're fine, but it's a situation where they totally could have because they had the numbers advantage, that type of thing. So again, here I don't want you going topside. I want you way more controlled around mid, and I don't want you hovering in the bush either, because like they could totally have vision here, even if, you know, you saw that ward because it's a control ward. But if there was a yellow ward there and you sat there longer, the Vi could have just killed you. Like, you know, we don't want to be in such risky spots in bushes once we get to this point in the game. Like, this is the point in the game where grouping mid actually makes sense. And I think that's kind of, again, where the main disconnect is. It's like, you're grouping mid too early, and then you're not grouping mid later as much as you could be. Whereas, again, like, kind of the order of operations just needs to be flipped, and then we'll be fine. You're playing, again, this fight well. You're super strong. You're getting a lot of poke off. Everything you're doing here as well. You're still, you know, more valuable than most of your teammates, right? But that's just kind of the main thing, so.
Yeah, so I have another question.
Yeah.
So when, so in my mind, I know the threat to me would obviously be those who can dive me at this point, which is the Volibear, the Vi, even the Alistair, and obviously the Samira. But my backline, the Vayne, and the Nami, I think they're duo, but I realized that they had a hard time to kind of move forward because the Heimerdinger could just, you know, bully them from quite a long way away from them because of the difference in range. So in my mind, I was more focused on their backline, which is the Heimer and the Samira. But at the same time, you could see how low I was because I kind of didn't pay attention to the Volibear being so deep into our backline, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like one of the things that I kind of struggle with sometimes in terms of target selection, you know.
So click the scoreboard, like show the gold.
Okay.
Okay, and if we look at it, right, you have 12,725 gold. Your Vayne has 8,000 gold. So, like, in your mind, literally nobody matters apart from you. Like, that's what you should be thinking. You're super fed. Again, you've done a lot of really good things to farm this game, and you're really, really strong. Nobody else matters. So you shouldn't be thinking, does my Vayne need help? All you should be thinking, and again, this could be shit. Like, let's say he had 11,000 gold and you were at 10,000. Then you could be thinking what you were thinking because he's going to be useful. You can actually try to target people to make him more helpful. But when you're this strong and the rest of your team's not, your only thought is, who is a danger to me? And is there someone that I can like possibly like one shot or target for that type of reason? So the main thing you should be thinking, like you were talking about all the champs can dive on you. So Vi ult, right? You're going to want to ideally cleanse Vi ult because that's the only thing that could like target onto you and you can't run or flash. You should flash either Alistar or Volibear, right? Whoever engages on you if one of them do. So that's how you'd have to think about like your spell usage. and then you're pretty much just going to be hitting the front line initially, and then anytime that like Samira or Heimerdinger walk up far enough, you're going to engage, or like you're going to try to one-shot them, right? So the main thing you're thinking is those dangerous things, I need to respond with my cleanse with my flash. And then you're not trying to like specifically target Heimerdinger or Samira because you're the one who matters. And when you're so strong, you're so much more fed than everyone else. What matters is like you let the enemy come into you because they're going to target you naturally with how strong you are. So you just wait for them to come into you, and then you find that opportunity to one-shot like the squishy champ. Does that make sense?
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
But again, overall, I mean, you didn't play this fight bad or anything. The only time was that one time you walked up like slightly further than you should have, because I think you were over-focused on the Heimerdinger, right? But like everything else, I mean, was fine, and you got a bunch of damage off, and I mean, your team obviously, you know, quite behind, so pretty hard. But yeah, I would say like your decision making and how you get gold is really good. Like overall, like I said, there's a small things that we spoke about, but the way you're getting gold is really good. You're getting really strong in these games. A couple of those minor adjustments will probably get you a few more wins, and then overall you keep playing like this. Like you're definitely gonna climb higher than, you know, master if you play like this consistently, for sure. So, and like I saw in your score or whatever. Yeah, go ahead. What?
I mean, for now there are games where it's like you said. I don't really get to face time when you get that much, so I don't know the matchup. You know, in terms of whether I would kind of beat him in lane or not. It's right now it's more of you could say like limit testing, like me finding out as I
Yeah.
either win or lose. It could go either way, you know. So I learned from it. But recently, recently as I climb up to masters, actually those at this point in time their pick would be higher than master. I mean, I looked through, it was like Grandmaster and Challenger and above. But I realized that these games, those type of games which I lost in terms of it more factors into micro differences between us in terms of them understanding their hero matchups more than I do. Like, I mean, after this game, I can just show one of the scoreboards that I got Storm as an Ekko against an Ari, which I did not play well at all.
Yeah. And I don't know if that was you pinging it, but I like the idea of trying to get Baron just because you guys were behind and it was kind of hard to get in there. So like, I like if like your team wanted that you would do Baron.
I felt that there's no point for us to contest
Yeah.
Dragon, and we could just, you know, trade up, but they did not.
So I agree with you, and your team didn't follow, and it's fine, right? But I like that that was the thought that you were going in, and then you still follow your team because they obviously were just going to fight regardless. And then again, in this fight, like all you're really looking for is a really large key. Wait, why didn't you have either? If you go back to like the start of the fight, back to like the start.
Sorry, give me a moment.
Yeah,
what?
Just go back to the start of the fight. Like you can click like the rewind, then go like 20 seconds back or whatever.
Okay. Close the door, please. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, go back to the start of the fight. Are you good? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. So yeah, just go back like 20, 30 seconds, like a little farther.
Okay.
Like, yeah, just pause.
Hold up.
Yeah, you're good there. So yeah, I just want to watch how this fight starts. Like I want to, you can start it now. The main thing is just like your E usage. Like I was confused why we didn't have E, so I just want to pay attention to sort of like why it is. I'm just kind of looking for that mostly. Because like you should kind of be waiting until they engage on you pretty heavily before getting your E off, because you can hit multiple people like with such a large front line. Did you use your E to wave clear there? I didn't.
Maybe yeah, I did. That was.
Yeah, so that's the main issue is like when we know a fight, like you knew a fight was going to break out here, and then you use your third ability like that. Like your wave clear doesn't matter here. Like it's not about wave clear right now. It's about winning the fight. Like it was pretty obviously, you know what I mean? So, I mean that like usage of that spell made it so when the enemy engage on you, you don't have as much to respond and you don't get nearly as much damage.
Yeah.
That's kind of the main thing. Overall, the fight's still pretty fine. And then you didn't cleanse when he stunned you. Should have just cleansed. Very scary, right? But
yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to these things, like using my E for example, so there are cases where I how do you say it? I kind of save my spells for a decisive moment, you know, or either I do that, or I would just, you know, I don't think and I just like use it whenever I feel like you saw when I use it to clear the wave my E. So when will you not think twice about using your abilities for such
Yeah, so it's pretty
purpose?
much for me when there's like either when I know a fight's not like there's like here there were a bunch of people right around you. It was very clear a fight was going to happen. Like you typically
Okay.
want to have your spells up to fight if you think it's very likely that a fight's going to happen really soon. But it's also depending on how important of like the part of the game we're in. So like again, the first 12 minutes of the game, your goal is get as much gold as possible, farm, 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 right? And in that situation, we just third ability, we do the normal combo on the wave, make sure we get the wave, and then we can just fight after. Fighting is a second thought. But then past 12 minutes, once we're hitting death cap, we're hitting our 100 plus stacks, we're now obviously the Baron spawned. Now fighting becomes a bigger priority. So in that situation, I'm going to be more like, I'm going to be
Conservative.
more careful with my spells, right? I'm going to wait for the
Okay.
fight. So it's kind of later on in the game when you're around that like key point of Baron or those types of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then yeah, your kind of main goal here is like hopefully you can get a steal or an objective or something since your team is behind. You're kind of just hoping like the enemy kind of force something like that. That's kind of the main thing. But yeah, I mean going mid with your team and everything was fine. Again, like I think most of your gameplay is like quite good here, like with a lot of the decisions. I definitely think this is just a hard game overall, but. And there's some of those main things we spoke about, but yeah. Like here, for example, I don't mind you clearing the wave immediately with your full wave, like everything, because you don't see any fight breaking out. Like your jungler's top side, your teammates are recalled, like, what's going to happen, right? But here you need to be hovering the Baron side, right? Because Baron is where the objective is. That's where the fight's going to happen. I don't want you chasing top side. I don't care that Vi is chasing, your Lee Sin. Like, this is their problem. Again, focus on the mid control, focus on control over the objective, that type of thing. Because the enemy are, again, they're going to get drawn to you just naturally if you're pushing that wave. So if you were on the mid wave right away, like you have flash, so you're not in danger. You go on the mid wave right away, and now the enemy have to come back. But instead, you see how the enemy get control over this mid wave, which means they get to rotate into the Baron, they get the objective control, everything like that. But if you were on the mid wave right away, then you have control. The enemy are going to naturally back off. And again, mid wave is going mid, and you're clearing a random ward. This doesn't do anything for you. We need to understand what matters more, and having control of that mid wave so then we can rotate into these objectives in the late game, that's way more important. Whereas every single fight, you can kind of see the enemy have control. They, like, you have to walk into them, and it's just a lot harder because of that. Whereas if you were, again, in like the mid wave on that control of the mid wave right away, the enemy are in a much harder spot to play the game. But instead, again, Vi was able to find a flank under your team. The enemy are kind of just able to come into you. And again, they're super tanky. It's hard for you to actually do like that much, right? But that would make it a lot easier in terms of the setup and everything. So. But you played the fight really well, like after, you targeted the correct people, like you got both their squishy champions, which is what your champ's best at. And they're just diving you, like there's nothing you can really do at this point.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do at this point.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for you, again, it's mainly the setups. It's like, there's multiple times where there's an objective up. You get control of that mid wave and then go in afterwards rather than just immediately going in. Like, just more aggression on those waves, making sure you get them cleared right away. And again, pushing those waves before you rotate, like in the early game especially. And then that mindset shift from before 12 minutes until after 12 minutes where you're focused on fighting past 12 minutes, but not as much in the first. Those are the main things that we see in this gameplay. Obviously, again, overall, you played really well this game, and it was a hard game, but yeah. I'm assuming they just get Elder and they win, so. Do you have any questions about anything we've talked about so far or anything like that? Are you good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me, by the way?
I do hear you, yeah.
Right.
Okay, like here you should have prioritized the steal, by the way. Like you should have been trying to steal this because your champ does a bunch. I think you guys got it though. Well, you died, but like it doesn't matter. But
Yeah, I got it, but we all died for it, so.
But we should have prioritized the steal right away there because we saw how low it was, and like getting that steal would win us the fight overall, or possibly win us the fight, right? But instead of like you prioritize Samira, where Samira wasn't really a huge stat there. Like she's level 13, she's not very strong, that type of thing. So that's a small thing, but yeah, I mean obviously we end, so you can just exit because yeah, obviously you're gonna win.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said,
I mean,
we'll write out notes after one more game, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like you mentioned at the start before we started analyzing, we because of the update there were some games that I wanted you to take a look at,
But they're gone, yeah.
but now I can't. But yeah, but okay. Um, so there are two games that I have in mind. One is the Ekko game, the most recent one, and one is the one that we won. But I felt that this one could have gone either way. But okay, never mind. We just go through this game and then we can go through other games as I reach out to you again. But
Okay.
this game, just a disclaimer, the Vayne and the Nami that was my team was the opponent's team, and then they
Oh
won
yeah.
this time, which kind of annoyed me. So you kind of called me at the right time because I was getting tilted.
Yeah.
But um, towards the end, I made a decision that my team said that it was my fault that we lost. So I mean, we can just take a look, and I can tell
Wait,
you
you
what my
guys,
thought process
bro,
was.
you lose 30 to 18. Actually, I when I was looking at the scoreboard, I thought you won. I didn't even like
No,
realize that it
bro,
was a
I lost.
loss.
I lost.
Yeah.
I lost, and I was pissed about it. Yeah, but you can
Yeah.
see how. I mean, it's just one of the things where, like, you made the wrong decision and it kind of flips the game the other way around, which happens. But I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
For me, it's about cutting these mistakes, which should be the priority for me.
And if you want to go on the top right, the fog of war thing again, the blue.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
Hold up. Okay.
Okay, so pause real
So
quick.
normally,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So when I play Ekko normally, because I know that I can clear a wave with two first skill. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, for level one, normally that's what I would try to do. But there's one of the games which I played against NRE. I did that and he punished me because after I used my skill, sorry, he punished me because I didn't have anything to
To trade
kind
back, yeah.
of kind of do. Yeah, so I was kind of hesitant this time, but
So are you aware of like the thing people do where they'll clear the wave right away and then they'll try to invade like level 2?
yeah, I try to do it with Ekko because he's one of the champs that can get away with it because
Yeah.
he's kind of yeah.
So the
So at
thing
this point, I
is,
was
you
kind
just need to
of
understand the
deciding.
matchup. So like, yeah, you did it into an Ari. Okay, pause here as well. There's a couple of big
Okay.
things we need to talk about. So the first thing is you can do that like level 2 cheese thing we've talked about, where then you go and invade by clearing the wave right away. But you can only do it if
Yeah.
you go super far on the wave, like you go all the way up on basically into their turret, and you're like clearing
Okay.
the wave as soon as it comes, right? You do it super fast.
Yeah.
And you can only do that into champions that are weak early game that can't really punish
Okay.
you. So Ari can punish you, right? Jace could punish you, Yasuo could
Yeah.
punish, but Ziggs is not like that scary. So if you're kind of like going up on the
Okay.
Ziggs and you just try to see if he misses a first skill or if he uses something, and if he's pressuring you walking up, then you back off, you don't do it. But if he's kind of scared, he's like backing off or he misses a first skill, then you do it and you go for that like level 2 cheese. So that's the first thing. It just depends on the matchup. Weaker early game matchups, you can try to do it. Don't try to do it into something like
Yeah.
Ari or someone, and that's something you'll learn the more you play.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is you got level 2 here, and again, just go back like or 10 seconds, because I want you to pay attention to this. But watch, like you're hitting level 2, so yeah, after your next first ability, you hit level 2, he's level 1. You could upgrade your third skill and jump on him right now. Like look at this, like you could have 100%. Look where he is. That's a kill, like
Yeah.
not a kill, but like a big trade. You see what I mean? You could have third skill and you
Okay.
just jump on him, and he would be half health right now, and he would be in a really bad spot. Instead, you're trying to do this, but you saw Pantheon on top side, so you should have knew that he started blue side because you saw him go on ward
Yeah.
top side right away. So that
Yeah.
also didn't really make sense, right? But because he also would have been level 2,
Oh,
you can't do it at 40 seconds
yeah.
because he'd be level 2 and then he would just win the trade, and then Ziggs would rotate, you would die. So
Okay. Yeah. So one more question. So
yeah.
when you play mid, I mean, at least when you play those stuff, champs where you could kind of invade at level 2, like Ekko, for example.
Yeah.
How do you know or assume or like guess which side their jungle will start on without any vision on your team?
So you're always, if you're doing this invade, the first thing is you're only doing the invade if the enemy let you do the wave clear thing and they don't punish you for it. So that's the first thing. You don't just do it
Okay.
every game. You only do it when they give you
Okay.
the opportunity. The second thing is you're always going to go do the blue. And the reason is because blue is way closer, way easier to invade. Red is super deep. It's hard to actually get into there. And so basically what you do is you do the wave clear level 1, really fast. You go and you ward their blue side. If you see them on their blue buff, you do it. If you don't see them, you just go back to lane. It's that simple.
Okay. Okay, got it.
And then yeah, here again, like what's important to note is like you even here, like, I like this trade. This is what I was going to tell you to do. So I'm glad you do. You know how Echo passive works, by the way, like the 3 autos.
It's the 3 hits. Yeah, but I'm still learning to get that double hit with the first kill as well with the third and a basic attack, to finish it
Yeah,
off.
because like
But
when you walked on
yeah.
that Ziggs, you should have walked up to try to trade harder because you got your first skill and an auto. You should have walked and
Yeah.
gotten one more auto to get the passive proc because it gives you the movement speed to run away as well. So it makes it more useful that way as well. So basically, like the main thing you need to understand is Ekko just needs to focus a lot more like on trading when you get a level advantage. So every time you have a level advantage, you go hard. If the enemy walk up and you have your first skill going, you jump on them and you make sure you get that 3 autos or like that 3 things of damage in order to get the trade off. So that's kind of the main thing to focus on. Like you're allowed to actually lane as as Ekko. You don't always have to be only going for the invade and like that's all you do. So. And then here you could have been more aggressive even to try to flash onto him. I don't mind. I think it works out pretty well. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All that's good. I like that you see like the difference here is like if you were Syndra, I would told you like what the fuck are you doing, But you're Ekko, so now you can do that. And then even if you lose out on a little bit here, your wave clear is really strong. You get back really quick. This is the type of champion you do this on. But the problem is you were doing this on Syndra as well. So we just need to understand like depends on the champion we're playing. And then now at this point, you have enough gold for mana boots, so your main goal should be to clear this wave and then recall. Like you shouldn't have even been scared of taking damage because you know you're going to recall after. And also click back on your champion, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've another question.
Yeah.
When it comes to trading, because there are a lot of times which, because of the fact that I don't have enough, or should I say, I just don't play like
You don't have
100
enough
or like,
experience on the champs,
yeah. So when it comes to that, because of that, I kind of be very hesitant to walk up and trade. Like, and there are moments where I realize that I lose because of the fact that I kind of respect the opponent a bit too much, even though we could be evenly matched or they could be on losing matchup.
Yeah.
And kind of
I mean, the main way to approach that is if you don't know, try. Like that's just the simplest thing. Because your goal, like I don't know what exactly your goal is, but I'm assuming the goal is to continue to climb and get better and get higher, right? Like obviously that's usually the goal. And you're not really able to like you've kind of experienced the fact that like your teammates are usually pretty shit. Like you have to carry pretty hard most games to actually win. And that means that you have to understand the limits of your champion really well in order to, and also pause here for a second as well, but you have to understand the limits of your champion really well to like actually be able to hard carry shit players, because it's not about just being good, it's not about doing well, it's about hard carrying bad players most of the time, because that's just the reality, and that's fine. We just have to accept that. And that means that anytime that you don't know how a matchup goes, you need to do everything you can to make that matchup volatile to the point where you can figure out what goes wrong or like how to play the matchup. So you played into an Ahri, you realized now, I assume, I can't trade Ahri level 1. I can't really beat Ahri early. She's stronger than me. So I'm no longer going to try that. But you tried and now you figured it out. But then you're into a Ziggs and you didn't even try, even though you would actually be winning this matchup if you were kind of trying to trade in those times. So, I mean, it really just comes with experience. That's why I recommend sticking to a few champions. So if it is Ekko and Syndra, maybe one other champion, or if you have other champs, like it doesn't matter what the champs are, but it matters that you stick to 2 or 3 at a time. You really focus on learning the limits of those and like spam the hell out of those. And then the only other thing real quick is that you should have gone on the mid wave, then rotated again, because the mid wave was already pretty much coming and you tried to rotate on a full wave. Don't rotate on a full stacked wave, or like a full mid wave rather. Make sure you push out that wave, and then as soon as the wave is pushed, because your wave clears super fast, then you go and rotate.
Yeah. Okay. So like you said, normally my thought process would be obviously to get the mid wave first, but how do I say this? So at the same time, after that, it would be either one is to sync with my jungler in where he's going, so we can like try to make something work, or go to the opposite side where something's not happening. But if it was you, what would your thought process be?
Yeah, so right now what I'm thinking is my Volibear does not currently have ult, so it's not a champion who's like most likely going to get a super good gank off. However, I would rather rotate with my jungler if I'm looking to rotate somewhere. If we look at the current wave top side, the wave is pushing into my top laner, which means the enemy have either recalled and they're going to come back to lane and they're going to be far up in lane, which means they'll be gankable, or they're going to walk up right now when I know they're already low because I see Teemo's low, so Nass is probably low as well. So my main thought process is there's probably a 10 to 20 second window in which I can possibly gank that, that top laner, but I don't currently see them, so it's probably not immediate. And so I'm going to take the guaranteed gold first, and then I'm going to look for that right after. So the guaranteed gold is mid lane. I'm going to push my mid wave, and I'm going to immediately run top side, basically.
Okay.
And here you should jump on him to Ziggs, which you do. That's good. And yeah, I'm fine with that. And now your focus is just mid wave, and then you do what I was saying, with the top side. And then here even we see our jungler is now going to bot. Like we see, right, that's where his camps are. And so now your new thought process is, okay, actually people are pretty low bot side. I have an Alistar bot. Volibear is going there. Let me clear this mid wave really quick and then rotate bot now, because now that's where my jungle is. So if you just clear this and you go bot, like I'm pretty happy with that decision, which is what you do. So good. The problem is focusing jungle here. Jungle is not the person we should be focusing. You got lucky that you do get the steal. I like that's funny, but if you'd gone bot lane here, you would have gotten a double kill, by the way. Like it would have made a lot more sense for a couple of reasons. The first is Pantheon's not a champion you can one-shot, like he's just tankier. Whereas Vayne and Nami, they're a lot squishier. And then your teammates were also in a position to follow up on your bot lane engage, but they weren't in a position to follow up on your jungle engage. And then the enemy Vayne and Nami were also lower health than Pantheon. So like for all of those reasons, it would have made a lot more sense to go that way. But it worked out pretty well still for you, so. Because Pantheon is also a pretty hard champion to like invade most of the time. Like if you did it level 1, like I said, it would have been fine, but past that, he has his stun, he has his shield thing. So like all those reasons. And then again, you need to be a mid wave first here. Like you need to understand, right? Mid wave, then we go. You were looking for the rotation, and you go here right after. Yeah, so like the outcome is fine, but you should have initially looked for that. And I like you go top side. So I think again, a lot of the things you're doing are fine. Most things you're doing are correct here. Your early game is generally like following the proper thing. Main thing is just again being on that wave a bit quicker rather than wasting some time. And then yeah, here you just should probably just kill this guy, I assume. Oh, I guess that's kind of unfortunate. I think you still kill him. So, you didn't even need to ult, honestly. I don't mind ulting out, but you honestly could have just walked out.
Yeah.
And then yeah, again, like the priority of making your trades with your like level advantage, I think is really the biggest thing as well, rather than only like focusing really hard on jungle and invading. Like you're kind of constantly trying to just fuck over the jungle 24/7, which is one thing that Ekko can do, but it seems like you're kind of thinking it's like the only thing you can do. And so just being a bit more aware of the fact that you actually can make trades in lane, you can be a bit more aggressive in those types of matchups sometimes. Like that's again kind of the main stuff we see from this game. So. But I'm assuming it's more of like you guys throw late game because the score was 30-17 and you guys lost or whatever. So, and here you should just take gold. Like there's no reason that you don't just get the gold from the Herald, you know what I mean? Like you should have gotten that gold because again, it's about the greediness. Like we want to make sure we're getting that gold on ourselves. So I would have stayed around, gotten those plates, and then backed off after. But
oh, by the way, now that you mention it, where would be a appropriate moment for me to be more team oriented instead of being greedy? Because I think my playstyle is more like you as you can see from how I normally prioritize goal is more greedy. Like either I go mid, and if nobody covers the side lanes, I'll go there and get extra gold, and that's how I get early game.
So it's going to be team oriented in a couple situations. So the first situation would be champion choice. If you were choosing Annie, Lysandra, Ahri, you're going to be more team oriented because these champions are just more team oriented. Like that's just how they work, right? They have more CC, they have less overall damage, like they're just less 1v9 carry potential. So champion choice is going to be the first thing that's going to make you want to be less selfish. I don't know what my mind just started blanking randomly. Like generally, the other time that you're going to be more or more selfless is if your early game goes bad and you realize someone's doing really well. Like let's say for whatever reason you got solo killed by Ziggs, maybe you got ganked by Pantheon and you fell behind, and then you end up being down 600, 700 gold after the first 3 or 4 minutes. But your bottom lane are ahead 3,000 or 2,000 gold, right? Like they got like 2 kills, they're stomping. In that situation, now your goal is still push the wave and then immediately just rotate there. So now instead of like pushing the wave and then maybe doing whatever's best for you, now you're just like, I push the wave, I go and I help my teammate, I go and help them, they're the strong people. So yeah, it's basically when you identify someone is a lot stronger than you or better than you, that you're going to play around them. But it's going to be pretty rare that that actually happens, to be honest. So.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, you should have just gone on the wave right away, even before clearing that ward, because it's like a little bit of urgency to, you know, protect that turret, but it's not the end of the world. It's a pretty small thing. And at this point, you should try to... Oh, actually, your Ezreal goes mid, so never mind. I was going to say you should go mid, but I didn't realize Ezreal's going there. So I'm fine with just getting this turret then instead. Like, yeah, you should just be hitting the turret with your teammate. There's no reason not to hit the turret. You killed someone, your Ezreal's mid lane. I don't know what you were doing, but yeah, you do it in the end.
I was typing in chat. I was like, thanks for covering my lane. Because it's kind of rare for people to cover me when I play mid.
Yeah, no, that was really good by Ezreal. Like, I love when my teammates do that. It definitely is rare. I mean, even when I have like challengers in my team, it doesn't happen that often. So. Kind of an unnecessary thing there, because again, kind of the mid wave, then we do other things, which I think is just the main thing. It's like even that random scuttle, again, not a big deal, but like you're just not prioritizing this mid wave before you do other things. And again, it comes to a lot of those objective setups that we spoke about, where it's like that mid wave allows you to rotate into other objectives, it draws people to you, all these types of things.
Okay.
That just needs to be like, even right now, I want you on this mid wave. Even using that W is like, that W is just why, like we might as well go mid wave, because then the enemy are going to get drawn to us, and then we'll have W for that, right? But instead, now we don't have W, the enemy are on that wave, and again, you wouldn't have actually done anything, but it's more the thought, where it's like, I want that to be your main thought process. And then here again, I would prefer getting that mid wave before rotating here, once again, because you'd push the mid wave a little late, so you only had about 10 seconds to do this rotation until the thing would come back, right? The wave. But instead, if you'd push just one wave later and then you did the same thing, you have now 20 or 30 seconds to rotate. And luckily it worked out for you because Volibear covered your lane, but that is just not something we can consistently rely on.
Okay.
So that's why I prefer doing that. But it's not like, again, like if, the thing is, there's a difference between playing solo queue versus playing like 5-man, you know? If you were 5-man, the play you made, I would say is correct. But we're not, right? And here you should go bot lane. There's a fight mid lane, but your entire, like, there's no objective up. There's no real, like, value from being here. The fight is basically over by the time we get there. If you were bot lane right now, you're getting multiple waves for free. Instead, you're going to a fight late, which maybe you end up getting a kill out of it, but you're losing out on a bunch of gold mid or bot lane while your whole team was mid anyway. And then you just end up in bot, or like wanting to go bot, but now you can't go bot because you have to cover mid. But if you'd covered bot right away, you'd be able to now get this mid wave as well, because there'd be no bot wave, right? So it's like, again, that same thing we spoke about in the first game is like, if you're covering that side lane initially and then you get to rotate into the other lane, it takes an additional 5-10 seconds, and then not only are you denying people gold guaranteed, getting your own gold guaranteed, but then you're still able to rotate to the fight. You get kind of the best of both worlds. So again, here top side, you should go right now. You go get this top lane wave, because there's a top lane wave that's very easy to get. You have nothing else to do right now. You might as well get that additional gold and then recall afterwards, because you see it's the same thing where dragon spawning in 40 seconds, now you have to go top side a little later. Now you don't get to set up around the dragon as quick. It's the same as that Baron last game, right? Where I wanted you to go 30 seconds beforehand, but instead you didn't, and then you weren't able to go at all. In this case, now you go, but you have to go late, so then you're going to see how late until you actually get to go to dragon, right? So, is this making sense, or?
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a question. So there are moments where I will get hard stuck in mid lane because it's like you said, there are moments where I think that, let's say I were to get the lane prio in mid, where I get to clear the mid lane and then either rotate. But then I realize that after I clear mid, there will be another mid wave coming. Like, I don't know. I mean, you should know this more than I do. Like a few seconds or so afterwards. So with that in mind, I would normally be in a cycle of just clearing mid and not really making use of
your time.
the possibilities or the opportunities to do something else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So the first thing about that is, I can talk about that. Yeah. So the first thing about that is, it's not the end of the world to just be clearing a bunch of mid waves. Like, it's not like, it's not, you could do more with your time oftentimes, but it's not the end of the world, especially if, say, there's like an objective up, right? Like, say Baron was up.
Yeah.
then just sitting in mid wave constantly doing it, I'm fine with that. But let's say we're in the first 10 minutes of the game, maybe there's no objective up, and you want to get more value out of your time. The main thing you need to understand is you need to be on that wave right away and clear it right as it gets there. Because if you clear it as soon as the wave gets there, then you have like 20-30 seconds before the next wave comes. But if you're like not on the wave right away, whatever, it's going to be hard to go, because then again there's going to be another wave coming. So look at you. Do you see where the wave is right now, right by your turret? You see how it's right by your turret? So you know, right, that the enemy wave is going to be also right by their turret, correct?
Yeah.
And so because you know this, if you were, say, like, look where Ezreal is right now. And I'm not saying in this situation you should be there. I'm saying like in, you know, hypothetical, like in a different situation where you were mid lane. So if you were where the Ezreal is right now as Syndra or Ekko, you could clear this wave in 2 seconds. And then you would have 20-30 seconds after that to do whatever you wanted. So the important thing is like the wave before this one, before the one that Ezreal's on, if you'd cleared that and then the wave was already here now, you would have to stay around for that additional wave. So usually it's like you're going to clear the one wave that you just get onto that maybe was already there for a little bit, and then you have to get that next additional wave really quickly to create additional time. And then also, if you want to just look at it, let's say you were Syndra or Ekko right now. I think it's realistic to say you could have cleared this wave by 950, right? So let's look then and see when the next wave comes, and then you can kind of understand the time, right? So you can just go on the replay. Everything you're doing here is pretty straightforward. But yeah, just look at like what time the next wave comes and you'll kind of see. So.
Okay. So if there's one more thing that I could mention is that so normally when I sit in mid against how do I say this? I'm always under the assumption that my opponent will be, you know, have some sort of rational thinking, you know, unless they show me otherwise. But normally it would be either I would clear the mid, or me and my opponent would be clearing mid, and then they would be try to set up a gang with their jungler or something. For me, is either mirroring them, or because I know they would leave lane, and let's say if I were to play Syndra, for example, instead of Ekko, my priority would be to get additional plates and you know, push the additional wave that will come as they are at the other lane, so that they would lose gold and XP. But I'm not sure if, you know, it's worth for me to do that. What do you think?
Like if it's worth to. What is your question exactly? I'm sorry. I'm just.
You know, like in the sense that I'm being greedy, because if let's say the gang for my opponent works, and my team would be naturally be pinging me, because that's what people do when, you know, they die.
No, I mean, yeah, it's definitely fine to prioritize the gold and the wave and then go and help your team afterwards. Like, you don't need to worry about your team pinging you. That's perfectly fine. The only time that it's important to be with your team right away is if there's an objective up, you know, like that's really it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, or is that?
Yeah, so basically the main point is the first 10 minutes it's just me with control, and you know, like trying to get prior on clearing the wave, is it?
Yeah, for the most part. And again, maybe there's a dragon up, maybe you should rotate a little earlier, but for the most part, that's true.
Okay. All right, got it.
And then yeah, here again, let's see, like we'll see, right? 950. I think we could have cleared the wave for sure. And then at this point, we don't see a wave coming for a very long time. And as well, like you see how you got stuck here, right? This is pretty much what we were speaking about.
I was kind of like trying to match the Nexus, because I didn't want to let him get like free stacks and pushing.
Yeah, and again, the reason you got stuck here is because you weren't aware of pushing this wave earlier, so that you could then be able to rotate. Whereas now, again, you just kind of get stuck here, which is fine in this case, right? It works out okay for your team, but like generally it's kind of rough. And then we can see 10-17 roughly is the next wave got there. So you would have had 27 seconds, you know, to do whatever you wanted. Just like again, the hypothetical, not in this specific game, but in general. So you get about 25 seconds, you know, worth of your time every time that you push the wave really quickly, whereas you maybe only get 10 seconds otherwise. So. And then, yeah, I mean, at this point, we're kind of just, like, you can see this is the point where it's already, you can already kind of just start grouping with your team a bunch, because the Baron's nearly spawned. Like, this is the time where now control over mid wave constantly, mostly just farm normally. We don't need to go on side lane 24/7. And if we are going side lane, it's probably going to be same side of Baron, right? I don't mind this actually, though. Like, this is good because you still have 45 seconds until Baron. So if you push out this wave, this is kind of what I was telling you to do beforehand, right? But with Baron this time, where you push the wave out and now you get to rotate with your team. So I like this decision. And then now we're shifting into, again, like kind of what we were talking about with being more around the Baron side of the map. So, and even here, it's all right. I mean, I don't love fighting too hard on here, but again, getting this wave quick and then leaving after, like that's pretty good for me. So as long as you're, again, now like we need to be mid at this point, we need to be controlling the Baron side. But if you're doing that, then everything is fine. Okay. Here's where, again, it's a bit too much. Like if you're a bit too deep into their jungle at this point, on the wrong side of the map, encouraging your team to kind of follow and fight, and then the enemy could get control over Baron. So that's kind of the main thing again, right? Which we spoke about a lot. So.
Well, now that you mention it, it's interesting because there are moments where you could say it's an engage, but I mean, sometimes I'm just like, I'm just poking them for fun to make them back off, and then sometimes my teammates, they take it as me trying to go all in, and then, they kind of start diving in with me, and then it kind of doesn't work out and all, but...
Well, and if we just like look at like that third ability and dash for you, that got no value.
Yeah.
Like you just poke someone, cool, but like let's say you were poking someone around Baron, now you get control, you get to go ward, you get complete, like that's what matters. But having control over this bottom side of the map when you already push the bot lane wave and there's no objective, like it doesn't do anything, So it's about like, yes, you can sometimes just mess around, fuck with someone, but usually want to be doing that on the side of the objective so you can get control over that,
Okay. So in the situation where I'm like a mid laner or a jungler, when it comes to the moment where there's a Baron, I would probably want to stay around mid. Is that right?
Either mid lane or the same side of the objective. Like you could go to, for example, top lane right now if you need it. You don't need to here, but yeah, in general. So one of those type things, and then again, you push out the opposite side if you need to. Like if your team doesn't, you do that like you did this time. 30, 45 seconds beforehand.
Yeah, because I realized that if I were to play jungle and I were to be clearing the opposite side of the Baron, I wouldn't say a good, but like people with a brain or like they can think normally, they would punish me by just taking Baron because I would have to go all the way to the other side of the map,
Exactly.
Then that's how they punish me with my decisions. But how about when I play Baron? Because I would normally go to the opposite side to try to get people to come to me,
Yeah, that's the correct choice most of the time as a Baron laner. And then you just need to decide once you push out your wave, does it make more sense now that the wave is pushed to continue going and drop pressure? Or does it make more sense to rotate with my team? So it's like you might want to rotate with your team if you're more of a team fighting champ, like maybe you're Orin or something, right? Or you might want to team fight if you think like your team is just gonna like all die in the fight. You need to be there, and you being there changes the outcome of the fight. Like you're strong enough. Or you might want to stay on the side lane if maybe you're not as strong as your lane opponent and you like want to draw someone because you're not very strong. That's how, like, if you have 7,000 gold as a Baron laner and the enemy have 10,000 gold, but you're both just sitting there on side lane jacking off looking at each other, then it doesn't really matter that you're 3,000 gold down because nothing's happening, and now your team gets to 4v4. So it's like you're basically just either determining, yes, I'm more valuable in the side lane or I'm more valuable in a team fight, and obviously that's just game by game decision, but yeah, you typically want to start on the opposite side of the objective.
Okay. All right, got it.
Oh yeah, and I forgot that we lose this game, so I'm actually curious to see what exactly it is that leads to this. Because right now, I mean, even like control over this is mostly fine. But yeah. Because like the reason you don't need to be on mid wave right away here is because you're pushing them all further away from the mid wave. So it's like you're getting control over the Baron. That's what you need to do anyway. Here you could probably go cover a top lane wave at this point if you want. Now your team goes and fights, so you can try. I guess here is maybe where the throw kind of starts because you are kind of low. But and then yeah, like here, so this is another thing. We see Nasus on bottom lane. I don't mind you going and like covering one wave of the Nasus if you need to. The problem is here, it's a little harder now because one of your teammates died, so the enemy might do Baron. So you no longer should do this. Let's say all your teammates were alive, they were fine. You could go and cover this wave. But now at this point, you realize one of your teammates are dead. You have to kind of give up the turret so you don't lose more, which would be losing the Baron. So you definitely needed to be on the Baron side of the map because in realizing like, yeah, my team might give up the Baron if I'm not there, I need to just be like, yeah, Nasus is getting this turret. It is what it is. Because you're strong right now. So like when you're really strong, you need to be in a position to deny that Baron. But instead, you go, you try to cover the Nasus, and now the enemy get control over the Baron. So this is like partially something you could have 100% stopped. And I don't even know if they end up getting the Baron, but yeah, they don't end up getting it entirely. But like that is a situation where you need to be aware, like they're gonna get Baron. That's more valuable than losing a turret to Nasus, even though it sucks, you know. But when your teammate dies like that randomly, you need to kind of just determine, you know, what's more important. Is it more important to lose a turret or two, or is it more important to like not lose Baron, you know? So that was nice. Forcing
So
this.
I have another question. When it comes to objective, when I play mid, there are moments where I'm not sure whether or not I should be the one. If my Baron laner or my support does not do it,
If you should zone.
to be the one, yeah, to
Yeah.
zone or to help my tank, or sorry, my jungler, you know, do the objective, because there are moments that it backfires, you know.
Yeah, no,
So
here you
like,
should
yeah,
definitely be like zoning. Like you shouldn't really be on this objective with your teammate. And the main reason is because one, well, your teammate just didn't go, right, which sucks. But
yeah, and my
they have a
jungler's dead.
Ziggs, and Ziggs can steal really well. So if there's like a Ziggs, Orianna, Syndra, whoever, Varus,
Yeah,
you can't just start the objective even if their jungler's dead for just like, especially when you were so low, like Ziggs could even kill you, right? So in that situation, you needed to be zoning the Ziggs and looking for the fight. And usually when you're that low, you don't want to start it. You want to let your teammate start it. You know, like you let your Volibear do it, and then maybe you'll go now if he does. But going on it by yourself like that just got you low. It made you have to back off. It didn't really do anything. But here you should just control the Baron side because each team has a dragon, so it doesn't really matter that they get the next dragon. But we should just control the Baron side of the map, which you are doing. You know, your teammates obviously are some silly geese, which is unfortunate. But again, you should control mid wave here too. Like you can get that mid wave push right away, which you do. So everything here is fine, right? But yeah. I don't really want you going this far though. Like you're just gonna get caught. Like this is a bit just greedy.
yeah.
Like Pantheon's coming. I mean, this is just, yeah. I think you'll live, but it was just unnecessarily kind of risky. But like we need to understand kind of what our goals are at different points in these games. Like your goal, again, earlier was just prevent that Baron. Your goal now was just like make sure the waves are pushed so the enemy can't get too much out of it. Your goal wasn't to kill anyone there. Like you were on the back foot, you know, you weren't in a position where it was realistic. Your team wasn't in a good position to follow up. Some of them were low backed, whatever. Like you just need to understand that rather than trying to kind of overforce. And then again, just being on that mid wave quicker, because again, you were on the mid wave and you were aware of it, but you weren't there quick enough. And if you were there a bit quicker, it'd be a bit more useful. Not a huge thing in that situation, but generally just still important. So. I mean, here, like, I don't hate the idea, but, like, your team wasn't really in a great position to follow up. I can totally see, like, the reasoning for going in, but you didn't have your team in a position to follow up. And this is kind of what's, like, leads to a lot of throws, is people going in when they're in a decent spot already, when their team just, like, they've, you know, they're recalled or they haven't quite gone in. And then it allows Nasus to just completely control the waves again, because we're not, like, pushing out the waves before we're doing this. We kind of got drawn into, like, a very long fight. Which again, like I think is a reasonable thing in that type of situation to get drawn into that fight, but we saw how long it lasted and it kind of just led to like something really messy where Nasus is controlling the side lanes. So a lot of times when you have someone on the enemy team who's really like, you know, like a top laner who's really hard to deal with, he's really fed and he's getting all your turrets, you have to be very aware of the fact that you need to push out waves before you do anything, you know? So that's kind of something as well, but yeah.
So, but in the situation where my teammates don't have the awareness to, you know, manage their side waves, do I have to be the one to do it, or
Yeah,
do I prioritize the mid wave and, you know, like helping out my team?
yeah,
Because
so it really depends on the situation. Like I said, right, you saw that earlier play where I was talking about you shouldn't have covered the Nasus, you should have gone to Baron because Baron was, you know, a bigger deal. So it's like, you need to push out those waves in the lull periods, and then in like the crucial periods of like, you know, there's an objective, we need to fight it, you have to still be with your team. So for example, say you killed one person and you guys were 5v4, but you knew you're not going to get the Baron, that's the time to push the Baron, or to push the side lane waves rather, because you're no longer under threat of like losing the game, because you have, it would be 4v4, or it'd be 4v3 rather, because Nasus would be on your side, right? So it'd be 4v3 even if you went and covered it. So like you need to cover it within those like sort of timings, so that you can get the wave pushed enough and then still be able to rotate the fight. In this game, it's hard because your top laner is like, really shit, and like he's pushing constantly the Nasus. So I do get, like, in this situation, sometimes you just, it is what it is, but that's the main thing that you can do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
You have an item? Okay, you have stays. Yeah, I mean, I would push out bot here, for example. Like, this is one of those lull periods where pushing bot makes the most sense, right? You have 15 seconds.
Okay.
The reason it makes sense to push bot is because that's where the main pressure is, right? Like, your teammate's already on the mid wave. It doesn't really matter that much. And you have some time before the objective, so you want to get control over that wave so that the enemy can't, like, backdoor you or something like that. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, I think your team covered at least a decent amount of it, so. And I kind of like pressuring the mid wave since you have Baron and everything. Like, you can kind of even keep walking up, and make the enemy kind of choose, and then you can find a flank on them or something. So I think, like, even how you're approaching the fight is fine. Maybe you need to ult out now, though. Maybe be a bit, yeah. I think you played this fight well. I mean, not much you can do. Honestly, I think that's fine. Like, I think the way you played the fight and everything is just perfectly fine. Just didn't work out.
At that point in time, I thought my team would be on the way to me, but I don't know what they were doing hovering in.
Yeah.
Elder,
No, I mean, I agree with that. Like, and that's sometimes, your teammates just do dumb shit, and it is what it is. But this last fight, not really your fault. Again, it's some of those other things we spoke about in general. But damn, Volibear kind of popped off.
Yeah. There are moments where I got a good early game, but I didn't kind of, how do I say this, like, take advantage of it, to help my team out. But instead, I focus on the macro aspect in terms of pushing the side waves, and then because I'm the one who's fed and not them, they would end up losing the team fight, and that's one of the ways that I lose a lot actually.
Well, I mean, we can see here though, like, the reason you're losing is not because your team does pretty well in fights without you a lot of time. Like, you died pretty early there, they still did well in the fight. There was other times too. Like, the problem is the side waves this game. So like, it's actually that, like, this game you under prioritize the waves to the point where, like, if you had prioritized them a little harder in certain situations, you might have won because you wouldn't have as much pressure on your side lane. Which again, it's hard because sometimes you're making that decision between fighting or not, which, like we spoke about the Baron play, it made sense for you to go fight at Baron rather than go side lane because of the fact that Baron was, a lot bigger of a deal in the, like, larger context of the game. Whereas a different situation where, again, you've killed one person or whatever, getting that, or like the 20 seconds before the Elder, right, that's when you need to push out the side lane. Like, so it's actually more like that more than it is like you're not fighting enough, or something.
Okay. Okay, before I continue, I'm gonna explain my thought process in this situation. So I saw that the top wave was being pushed and we have Elder. So if I'm not wrong, I did have Elder. So in my mind, I was like, if whoever were to come to me, if it was one or two people, I could kind of make it work to my advantage. But you see how it didn't work at all because my team decided to 4v5, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. No, I don't mind going on the side lane here.
Everything.
I mean, you can just push out the wave here, though, like, is the thing. Because if you push out the wave, then you end up drawing someone to you at the worst case scenario. So instead of, like, looking for the back door. Then, yeah, here, your team dying, this isn't your fault. And even if you were there, your team still wouldn't have won the fight. You should have just keep going top, yeah. So, like, you kind of wait a long time to go top, which means that the enemy can respond to you a lot quicker. Like, yeah, you needed to realize, like, no, the fight's lost. You should have gone top, bro. Like this top turret could have just died. Or, again, if Pantheon comes, you could probably 1v1 Pantheon, honestly. He's level 13. Yeah, no, you could definitely have just, like, 1v1 him. And I think you would have lost anyways, don't get me wrong, because, like, your entire team died here. But if you were, like, actually... Because, again, this was one of those situations where you didn't commit to anything, right? You pushed out one top wave, and now you've not done anything. Which, now the enemy just get to win the game for free. Whereas if you'd committed to that split push right away, if you'd killed that Pantheon, someone else would have had to come to you, and it would have been slightly winnable. Again, I think you would have lost anyway. But it's kind of like that committing to things again. I'm going to share my screen, though, and write notes for you. So,
Okay.
yeah. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So, Syndra, Ekko. So again, stop me anytime you have questions, or if something I write doesn't make sense, or you want me to change the wording, or anything at all, because obviously I'm writing the notes for you, so that's what makes sense. But we'll start with the Syndra game, kind of going into that, and then, you know, going through that. So first thing was, like, don't level 1 ward. If we are weaker, level 1, compared to opponent, then just generally do not over-rotate early game as Syndra. Focus on wave, then rotate 95% of the time. Pretty rare you're actually going to want to fight early, right? That's not really our kind of overall MO. I would just say, like, can be quicker about using the wave clear combo on Syndra, because a lot of times you were kind of like trying to save your third ability, right? But early game, a lot of times just getting that wave clear out right away is really important. And then just like look for recall on mana boots, which did pretty fine, but it's just something I want to mention. So that's like most of the early game, like the first 5 minutes of the game. Again, you're just kind of over rotating a lot. I think that's like the biggest kind of issue. And then you're kind of over pushing as well, actually. So like, do not over push into hard early lane matchups. Just focus on poking and hitting wave when convenient, basically. I'll just say when it's easy. Then yeah, I'm trying to think. Other things were like kind of don't overgroup in mid, right? So like, don't overgroup in mid. If team is all mid, we can go side lane, then rotate mid after pushing the wave. Then kind of shift in mindset, shift from farming to fighting around 12 minutes. Push out sides about 30 to 45 seconds before objective, and then control midwave before objective. That's usually like 10 seconds before the objective, you know, like right before. So those are all the Syndra things that I'm thinking of that, you know, do you remember anything from the Syndra game that we didn't talk about, or that you want written down, or anything like that?
Oh, okay. I have a question. So
Yeah.
normally I would recall after the, I think fourth or third wave. That's enough for mana boots. But at the same time, there are moments where I kind of hold it off in hopes of getting my the mana boots plus the that extra book, you know.
The amplifying tome?
But
The book, yeah.
but the thing about Syndra and I mean other than Syndra and Ekko, I do play Ori as well. But those two heroes, they kind of use up a lot of mana in, you know, clearing waves and all.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I will get stuck just using my auto attack to clear wave instead, which kind of wastes a lot of time, if I'm being honest.
That's why you need to find the recall after the third or fourth wave, because yeah, the third wave gives you enough gold if you got good first strike gold and you got your fruit gold, whatever. Fourth wave is always enough. So you really don't want to be stuck in lane past that 95% of times, because you're going to be like no mana. So that's why it's like really important that you're almost always doing that. And then every once in a while you're shitting on lane so hard that you can freeze on him and you can stay longer. But that's really the only case, right? Otherwise you're just going to recall.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. I have one more question when it comes to freezing wave. I will most of the time kind of greedy in terms of getting gold, or trying to make a situation where my wave is being pushed into the opponent, you know, into their turret, so that they would lose like some minions also. But then sometimes it kind of ends up with my wave being stopped like just before their turret, which means I have to kind of overextend a bit, and then I'll get punished for that, you know.
Yeah.
So how do you where would be the best area for me to freeze the wave, or like how many minutes do I have to leave from their wave for it to set up nicely for me, you know?
Just set up your own freeze.
Yeah.
So we need to understand like the goal of a freeze in order to understand how much we need. So the main thing is all you need is that your minions are a bit lower than his so that they're going to naturally push, right? But you don't want it so big that it'll push too quick, right? So like, for example, maybe they have 4 minions, you have 3, or maybe they have 4 and you have 4, but your 4 are a little lower than theirs. That's all you need. But if they have 6 and you have 2, it's going to push too fast, right? So the point is, very similar health bars with yours just being slightly lower or maybe having 1 less minion. But the goal of this freeze is not to sit there and freeze for 45 minutes. It's just not possible, and it's not useful because you're going to run out of mana. The goal of the freeze is to freeze for 1 wave to deny the enemy some gold, poke them when they walk up, you know, they lose some minions, whatever. And then what ends up happening is you create a slow push naturally. Do you know what a slow push is?
Is when my upcoming waves will be bigger than theirs, and then I can push it into their turret, right?
And so that's the goal. You're freezing for 1 wave, waiting for the next wave to come, and then when that next wave comes, now you're slowly going to push that wave into them. And what this allows you to do is get such a big wave that you do what I just said, where you have 6 minions to 2 or whatever. So it crashes, and then that gives you a recall opportunity or a roam opportunity or a ward opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Any other questions about the Syndra game before we move on to the Ekko?
No, not really.
Okay, so then for Ekko, try to look for level 2 invade cheese into bad early game mids, but do not overforce it, right? Like if they, you know, try to pressure you off, just back off, it's fine. You're kind of just looking to see if they're not aware of it, that's all. And then raid really hard on level 2 and play around level diffs. Because again, you remember, like, right, you were level 2 Ekko, or Ziggs was level 1 and you didn't even, you know, look at him. So understanding that, for the level 2 invade, only invade blue. Early game, those are a lot of the main things, and just always, you know, push wave before rotating. Push wave and the next wave before rotating. Do you remember what we were talking about, where it's like you get on the wave but you're a little late to the wave, so you want to make sure you get that next wave, so then you have like 25 plus seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by that point. Trying to think of what else kind of talked about, because I think a lot of the other things were very similar to like what we talked about in the first game, with like the, you know, pushing out the side wave 35-40 seconds before, then grouping with your team, just more decisiveness as well, like be more decisive, because a lot of times you're kind of, you go for a play but you don't fully go for it, and then, you know, you should just be more decisive, then you learn from it, right? If it works out, it does. If it doesn't work out, you just figure it out for next time. And also just like more limit testing and matchups testing and aggression when you do not know the matchup. Then yeah, I don't think we talked about anything else specific. Is there anything else about the Ekko game or anything like that?
No, but I mean, regarding the level 2 cheese thing that we talked about. So for Echo, or should I say the mid that I play, there are cases where I know for a fact that the matchup I will not be able to get prio. Like for example, if I play Syndra or Echo against Yasuo, there's no way I can beat them early game. It's kinda impossible, honestly.
Yeah.
And for Echo against I kinda learned that the hard way, but seeing that you obviously have more experience than I do, what are some of the matchups that I have to be more kind of careful about?
So hardest matchups for Ekko, right?
Yeah.
So for Ekko, Yasuo, as you said, Gwen is a, most people don't play Gwen, but if they do, Lysandra, Galio, Ari is like, and really any burst damage champ or tankier champ are hard to get prio on. Are there
Okay.
any specific matchups you're curious about besides like the ones I mentioned, or?
Mm, I've played Ekko against Katarina and Akali before. It's like a flip of the coin for me, but maybe I didn't play it right.
Yeah, no. So both those matchups. So the Katarina matchup, she just has better poke than you level 1 because her dagger does more damage, and you're not gonna get 3, procs to get your passive. So you're gonna lose level 1 to Cat always. You
Okay.
don't win that matchup. It is a slightly losing matchup. You're not gonna get like solo killed if you don't play bad, but you will probably lose a bit of prio there, which kind of sucks because Cat's actually like gonna scale well too. But that is just kind of
Yeah.
how that works. And then with a Kali, her level 1, you can kind of get poke on her because you have longer range than her first ability. But level 2, she's really strong because she gets her second ability, but you win on level 3. So I guess I'll just write this, right?
Okay.
Into Akali, Ekko wins level 1 and 3 and 5, but loses level 2. Into Cat, you lose overall. And then the main thing to understand when you're in this type of matchup, like Cat doesn't shit on you, but you lose it, a little bit.
Yeah.
You're taking advantage of any time they do basically what I was telling you not to do, which is like they roam too early. So anytime they roam too
Okay.
early, you use that to now get prio because you're not going to get prio otherwise. So anytime even anyone really, Yasuo, whoever takes a dumb roam, that's when you take advantage of that time to get the prio, and then usually you can rotate to the other side of the map now because you have prio, and then you get to get a gank off somewhere, like that type of thing, right? So
Okay.
any other questions? Anything at all?
I have I think I do, but I kind of forgot.
You
Maybe I
can
just
take a
ask you when
minute.
you're streaming next time. Okay. Mm, oh yeah, okay. So normally I kind of hesitant about this when I pick my champs because that's if I'm the first few picks or I'm the first pick. But it's fine for me to blind pick Syndra and or Oriana or Ekko, right? Because I realized that when it comes to this for example Syndra or Ori, against tankier lineups it's kinda difficult for me to make an impact. You know, if like they have like three diving champions
Yeah,
on me, it's kinda hard for me to do anything about it.
yeah,
But at the same time,
definitely.
it's just the things that I don't really have control over, once I really made my decision.
Yeah, I mean Ori is better into tanks, not like great, but better than Syndra because she just has more like overall DPS. They both can work in the tanks because usually you're gonna do like what you did in the first game where you're targeting the squishies a lot anyways. Um,
Yeah.
and then Ekko is gonna be better into aggressive comps, but worse into like stuff like Lissandra or like CC, right? Heavy CC. But all
Yeah.
of these champions, they're good enough where like most of their matchups are fine. You can blind pick them; they're usually good, and they can still win against the harder matchups because no champion has 0 counters. So like when you're blind
Yeah.
picking, you're gonna naturally expect like if they pick the champs that my champ's worse against it, it's gonna be hard. But yeah, those champs are all pretty good blind picks.
Yeah. I mean I recently learned that if I were to play Ori against Syndra, I would not have a good time at all. And
Yeah,
if it was the other way around, I would enjoy that matchup because Syndra kind of arrange Ori when it comes to poking. But if I were to all in her, um, I think Ori could win. What do you think?
yeah. So the Syndra Ori matchup is definitely Syndra favored, and there's basically a couple goals that each champ has, and that's usually how I approach like thinking about a matchup. It's like what are the actual goals?
Okay.
So the goal of Syndra is obviously to poke, right, to get her stacks, to get a bit of
Yeah.
prio, and just to overall get the recall first on mana boots, right? Because neither of the champions have enough mana to kill each other unless someone is fucking awful for the most part, or like jungle ganks.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you don't actually have enough mana to kill, so the goal is to outpoke as Syndra and then find the first recall so you can get back to lane, and then maybe kill on level 5 when you get back to lane with mana boots. The goal of Oriana is to survive, to poke back with QW when you can, um, and then to find a recall at like a safe enough spot so you can scale up, that type of thing. And then Oriana, you're right, she wins the all-in because her passive auto attacks, do more damage. So if you're able to get an all-in, like let's say Syndra misses her E, right? Or Syndra, or you're able to get prio early as Oriana because she's not aggressive enough, and you get level 2. You can trade on the level advantages like an assassin would, where you get it, you level up first, so trade on that.
Yeah.
So if the Syndra is aggressive, you're just gonna play like a bitch. If she's more or more passive rather, then you can take advantage of those things I spoke about. That's kind of the main thing, though. Yeah, like Syndra wants to poke, wants to get the first recall, whereas Ori wants to try to create an all-in. Those are the main things, and that's just generally how I think about matchups. Is like who's has what goal, that type of thing. But yeah.
All right. Thanks for telling me that. I was kind of yeah, it was kind of in my mind, but I didn't know how to say it. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Then I'll send you these notes, and I'll see you later.
Sure. All right.